The tree of life and the 22 creative forces. First path, Aleph. Aleph is the primal and principal power behind all creation. Located between Keter and Kugma, Aleph describes the principal and primary force of creation. Aleph is symbolized as an ox employing a great and powerful force. Aleph represents the first and only creative force, where all preceding creative forces are simply different, states that this original force can move into. In this primal state of pure beingness, it is not a force in action. In fact, it's not doing anything. It is the essence of infinite potential in perfect stillness. It represents perfection beyond human comprehension. The second path is Beth, and Beth is the first action in the creation process. Beth can be observed as the start of the story of creation. The first letter is silent, the beginning of duality, seeing both the creator and created. Eth is represented by a house, as it implied the idea of a container or vessel by which the created world may come into being, just as the body is the container for the soul. It is the idea of a container, though nothing contained. The same unmoving power as Aleph, but now it is aware it may organize itself in some way. It represents the basis of the awareness of multiplicity within unity. The second path is Gimel, and Gimel is expansion, an expansion of that before it. It is an expansion of that is before it. The essential consciousness was formed both beyond and inside itself. Gimel emerges as the third and unifying pathway, resolving and harmonizing the opposites between the first two, forming and safe link. Gimel relates with camel, this self-sufficient animal that travels for days across the desert, which was uncrossable in ancient times. Gimel crosses the pathway of Kukma and Bina, referred to as the abyss. This process of consciousness traversing the abyss is also referred to as the dark night of the soul, a period of suffering or facing one's own death after which the soul dissolves into unity and emerges enlightened. Gimel is a symbol of the expansion of civilization and creation through different states of being. It may also represent the spirit of giving and receiving, the unification of opposites, and the deep intuition of justice, simply knowing. The fourth path is Dalet, and that is the dimension, humility, and reception. Dalet is the pathway of dimension and is also seen as the pathway of humility and reception. Dalet relates with a door and embodies the idea of shape, the idea of going through. A door is a gateway to a solid object like a wall. Esoterical, a door is a special kind of void that you can pass through from one state to another. This is a place of the tree of life where we now have dimension moving between states where we only had pure energy and its expansion. Dalet represents nullification of the ego in the presence of the spirit and how to return to the source. Fifth path, hey, point of view. Hey is symbolized by a window and represents a point of view. It is a window of divine revelation or perception that has to do with the way we express ourselves. It is the concept of looking, but not looking at anything because nothing has actually manifested yet. In this region of the tree of life, put simply, this path represents the perspective of observing capacity within creation and the expression of this core perspective setting things in motion. We can relate to this to quantum physics, where we learn to simply observing something affects both us as the results of what becomes manifested. From the perspective of God, you might consider that setting a perspective or something sets things in motion to the creative process. This letter symbolizes the effortlessness of the world and the symbol of divinity. Sixth path is Va, learning and teaching of cosmic law. Va is the pathway of learning and teaching of cosmic law. It is the sixth path, and so the binder of unifier of energy. Va often mean nail or sometimes hook or anchor, which is meant to represent the thing that join other things together and hold them in that state. This is cosmic principle that allows atoms to cause bonds together and create molecules. And at an ethereal level, nothing is manifested yet. This is the power of the Creator to enter into the world. It represents the geometry of Merkaba and the connection between heaven and earth. The seventh path is Zayin. Zayin means sword or weapon and often relates to the concept of a tool. The concept has to do with the concept power used like a summer who meditates with his sword, unmoving but focused. The concept has to do with the concept power unused, like a samurai who meditates with his sword, unmoving but focused. The ability for spirit to actually build and materialize things now exists. This is the concept of movement and the struggle to balance between opposing forces, including the awareness of being a unified spirit and an individual soul at the same time. The eighth path, Cheth, boundary layer. Cheth has several main descriptive Shed has several main descriptions. The most common is that of a fence or ladder, sometimes also described as a hedge, meaning a boundary by which the creation can become manifested within, and a ladder is a fence on its side, delineating the multiple dimensional boundary that is being created. The concept of fence and ladder are interesting too because with a simple twist, the idea changes into that of DNA. This is relative to the concept of Jacob's ladder, which comes from the Bible. We can connect Chet to the ability to go above and beyond our earthly limitations.